Into mid-September we journey, and we welcome you back for another episode of Six Rotations, a women's volleyball show that covers the collegiate ranks every week. He's the national champion head coach, Mick Haley. I'm Daniel Gillman, and as always, we are presented by SNA Sports, better equipment for a better game. And yes, there was very high-level volleyball this last week. Not as many upsets as we had the previous week, but oh my goodness, are we in store for one of the best weeks for the sport that we have had in terms of top matches in midweek action, and we'll bring it all to you. But yes, we got a little bit of new gear, and for those of you that won the Louisville first serve prize that we had, I think there were about 8 or 9 fans out there that correctly predicted who would win one of the matches and how many sets it would go. You guys have yourselves a little bit of Ren Athletics swag, and it is extremely comfortable. And Mick, we are going to have another giveaway, and we'll get to it in just a minute. But we've got our AVCA TerraFlex Top 25 poll. There's not a crazy amount of movement in it. And so with that, let's go ahead and just show this top 10 and kind of where we sit with it. The top 5 has not moved. Pittsburgh did well to retain their number 1 ranking. They got 33 of the potential first place votes. Stanford picked up 24 of them. But you see the 5, and you have to imagine, Mick, there will be some shakeups. But amongst this 5, the one standout from this past weekend was Stanford sweeping Texas. Where do you feel? What's the state of Texas right now, and how good are the Cardinal?
Well, that's a really good question because Texas is not performing up to standard. They're having trouble scoring the ball. They're only scoring about 12.7 kills per set. The average is about 13.5 to 14. Total points scored, they're down in that too. They're only scoring 16.4 points per game. So that means if you compete in the top 8, you're not going to win most of the time. Stanford, on the other hand, is scoring the ball pretty well. They're scoring at a 17.9 points per set. The thing that worries me about Stanford is they're giving up 9.8 points per set. Now think about that. That means the other team only has to score 15 points themselves to beat Stanford, and that's why I don't have Stanford as number 2. I know everybody liked the way they beat Texas, but they've got a big week coming up, and you'll talk about that coming soon. But they've got 2 really quality matches. We'll see if they can reduce the number of gives that they're giving the opponent and keep their percentages high. They're also making a lot of serving errors. And that seems to be a standard thing for a Kevin Hambly team up until they get to the Final Four, when they only had 3 serving errors, I believe, when they got beat in the regionals at home. They didn't have a lot of serving errors and still lost. So I like that. I think the team that should be second is Penn State. I think they are showing everybody that they're not flashy. Their freshman setter, Izzy Stark, is a real deal. They have good scoring. They're at 18 and 18.8, almost 19 points per set. And the impressive thing is they're only giving 7 points this early in the season. So that means you have to score 18. They're only going to give you 7. You have to score 18 to have a chance to beat Penn State. I like them at second. I like Nebraska at third. I know Nebraska looked bad in that loss to SMU, but Nebraska's numbers are good. And once they figure out that lineup, I think, to where they're comfortable, I think they're already scoring more points than they did last year. So I had Nebraska third, Stanford fourth. And I think there's a real interesting grouping of Nebraska, Purdue, and Louisville. That group seems to all have the same numbers, and Nebraska looks like they might out-athlete the other 2, but it's going to be interesting to watch.
A lot to cover. I'm going to go a little bit of word vomit quickly here, because yes, Nebraska, they've got almost 30 home wins in a row, had an awesome top 10 matchup with Creighton on Tuesday, a 5-set victory, had a great 30-28 set as well. How balanced are the Huskers right now? They had 14 or more kills from 4 different athletes. Krause and Jackson had 15. Harper with 16. Merritt Beeson had 14. Bergen Riley had an awesome dig on that great long match point. They bounced back from what had to have been an exhausting match to sweep through a good Arizona State team. And so Nebraska, I think, maybe feels a bit disrespected with their 5 seed. Creighton, a bit of a benefactor to some of the losses. They stay in the top 10 and, kind of stay put at 9. Meanwhile, Creighton is going to face Purdue on Friday, and that is going to be a hodgepodge of a weekend in Lawrence that is going to be phenomenal, because on Thursday, Purdue will face Kansas. On Friday, Purdue, Creighton, and then Saturday, Kansas, Creighton. This is what I'm telling you, folks. This is going to be a week of top 15 matches that we will not forget, and all of it comes to a head on Wednesday. And this is going to be our giveaway. So I'm going to try to limit it, but whoever gets it right, gets it right. You go ahead, you want to email 6rotations@gmail.com, SIX rotations@gmail.com. So we've got 3 top 11 matches on Wednesday, all around the same time. I hope you have multiple monitors, because on Big Ten Network, Stanford, the 2 team, faces number 5 Nebraska. At the same time, on ACC Network, we get 1 versus 3, Pitt hosting Penn State in the Fieldhouse. That is going to be so, so fun. And at the same time, on ESPN, Louisville and Kentucky. So of those 3 top 11, top 10 matches, how many total sets will we get? You can send me one answer, 6rotations@gmail.com, and you will be getting, if you win, a cool piece of 6 Rotations apparel that you can show off. Mick, following all of that, we've got Texas Baylor on ESPN at 9 o'clock Eastern on Wednesday. Is this the best midweek regular season day in college volleyball in the recent history?
Yeah, it didn't start off the way last year started off, but boy, it just keeps getting better right now. I thought the first 3 weeks would be good, but this going into this 4th week, these are great matches. And we have some numbers on each of the teams, so now we can settle in. We're going to find out if Baylor is really for real. But that's a battle for the state of Texas. How about the battle for the state of Pennsylvania? I mean, and we're going to have a battle sooner or later here for the state of Kentucky. These are pretty fun, don't you think?
This might be a rivalry week, especially for in-state, because guess what we have on Tuesday as a little bit of an amuse-bouche, maybe an appetizer for our incredible Wednesday night. Marquette, Wisconsin, the battle for Wisconsin. How about Florida and Florida State? Both of them are bleeding a little bit. The Sunshine State Showdown on Tuesday night as well. And then you mention it, Kentucky will take on Louisville on Wednesday. They will then face Stanford on Saturday on ESPN2, just all leading up to our ABC debut, our first regular season women's volleyball match on ABC Sunday at 12:30 Eastern, Nebraska, Louisville, for the matchup for all the bourbon. I really think that Nebraska comes in and they showed really strong after Louisville, Kentucky on Wednesday. I think that might be the matchup for the bourbon, but I was on a roll. Regardless, Nebraska Louisville might be that mantra that sits right at the end of this unbelievably fun week of volleyball. How about Pitt Marquette on Sunday as well? A chance for Marquette to take on 2 top 10 teams with Wisconsin and Pittsburgh. And of all of this hodgepodge, these are all of our marquee matches for the week, Mick. What is one that, we're going to learn a lot about Purdue with their 2 top 15 matchups. Arkansas faces Miami on Thursday as well, and what could be a fun one of 2 fringe teams. We'll get to the rest of the rankings right now. But are there any teams in this top 11 that we're going to see this week that you think really need to win? Or is it just a situation where they can bolster their resume?
Well, I think there's some people on the hot seat. I think Wisconsin, Texas are both on the hot seat to get their situations straightened out, get kids in the right positions, and start playing at a higher level. I think those 2 for sure. Kentucky, while they're very stingy, they don't give away points to the opponents. They're having trouble scoring. They've got to fix that. They've got to have more kills. So they're a team to watch. I think one other team is Louisville. They look like they play fun, but they could not score in sets 3 and 4 this week. De Beer could not find. There are 900 square feet over there, and De Beer could not find 1 foot of those 900 square feet. And she literally hit them out of games 3 and 4 until game 5 came around. And then Louisville decided to start to play again. But I think these teams have to get these things fixed. And then the one I think you need to watch is Purdue for real? I mean, that's the really what, because their schedule is starting to pick up now. The coach puts out on the internet that they're going to play well. They have to stay together. They've got a chance this year. Um, yeah, I think we should watch them because they've got the two left sides that are great, but where are they going to get the rest of the points? That's the thing.
20 kills from Eva Hudson in the Boilermakers' much awaited revenge win over Kentucky over the weekend. They played in Dallas, though. It was the SMU kind of showcase. And that's when SMU, and why don't we also bring in the rest of our rankings here, 11 through 25, because you've got Kentucky here sitting just outside the top 10. Meanwhile, Purdue, and I want to mention this, they are going to host Penn State in the Big Ten opener next week. Not this week, but next week. That's going to be an awesome invitation to begin the conference season. But Mick, as we look at the rest of the rankings here, you see Georgia Tech at 13. They swept through Florida over the weekend, or maybe midweek was that last week. And the Gators are they're just not the team that they can be if they have their two All-Americans. So it's weird to kind of rank them. It's weird to kind of talk about them without Stuckey and Martin. Meanwhile, BYU stunned by Oregon in 5 sets and then upset by San Diego in 5 sets as well. So BYU is maybe sitting a little bit higher than they deserve to be in that 19 spot. As USC 21, they were swept by Pittsburgh. SMU jumps into the top 25, long awaited, well deserved after sweeping Nebraska. They now sweep Baylor. Talk about kind of what stands out to you. The only team that dropped out was Miami. They were upset by Wright State and Ohio State over the weekend.
Well, yeah, and that middle group is very interesting. And the team that seems to be the hottest in that middle group to me watching this weekend was Arizona State. I thought they played extremely aggressively. I thought they played hard. They're a team that's not giving points to the other team. They're not scoring as many as they'd like to, but they seem to be a team that is looking to make a place for themselves. So I look for them to be on the upswing. I feel like Oregon, not so much. We haven't seen Kansas. Kansas is going to finally get out onto television, and we'll get a look and see what they're all about this week. You mentioned that. And I think Minnesota just keeps dropping down in my estimation. They have them 17, but I don't know. I have them 17 also. But I think USC actually is in front of them. And the reason I put USC in front of them is they have one of the most dominating offensive attacks out there. They lost Skylar Fields last year. They bring in Batenhorst from Nebraska. But they have some other point scorers that are kicking it up and some really good freshmen. They're almost at 19 points per set. If they quit giving away points, they're giving 10 away per match. If they get that down to 6 or 7, you have to watch out for that team. So that's kind of the way I see that middle group. I do think, though, you're right. There's Florida State, BYU, Baylor, maybe SMU, all in the same group. They're either going to move forward, they're going to move backward. The other team that's moving forwards is TCU. They've scheduled well. They keep getting better. Watch them. Watch Arizona State. If those two play, it would be a great match to watch because they will battle right down to the 5th set.
I was going to mention TCU had an impressive 4-set win over UCLA. I'm a little surprised TCU stayed down in the low 20s. It kind of shows the coaches not quite watching all of the matches. And in the same vein, how is Marquette unranked and Dayton 24? Dayton hasn't beaten anybody in the top 50. Marquette just beat Dayton in 4 sets. But regardless, the Golden Eagles will have a chance with their 2 top 10 matches coming up this week. Meanwhile, there's some news that has come around. Wisconsin hired Lauren Carlini as their offensive analyst / strategist. And I like it. I like adding Olympians. I love seeing some of the former faces come in. Obviously, Nebraska has done that in the last few years with Larson, but hoping that maybe a setter with some experience and prowess can kind of come in and maybe change the tides in Madison with little Furbringer, the freshman.
After that discussion we heard on TV between the coach and the freshman center, I think maybe a mediator might be in the right place for that thing to get going because they do need offense, and it seems like they just need some simpler communication here to get that going.
Yeah, meanwhile, we have always love getting shout outs to people. If you guys ever see someone that has an unbelievable effort, tweet it at us at Six Rotations. Michael Hamill got a shout out towards the Hawaii standout in Kalen Alexander. And this is your Texas State bunch. Awesome 5-set match between Hawaii and Texas State over the weekend. Hawaii victorious. Alexander, the standout outside from Georgia, 38 kills on 74 swings, hit over 300. And so we want to give a shout out to Kalen Alexander with one of the top performances of the weekend. Another one that I thought was really impressive, and we saw it from a couple different servers, but Emma Halter had that awesome service run in the second set against Houston, 3 straight aces to help propel the Texas Longhorns to that lopsided victory. Meanwhile, Valeria Vasquez Gomez, can't say enough about her. She had a key ace to win the first set in an awesome first set. I think USC saved 4 set points against Pittsburgh on Fox Sports 1 over the weekend. And then Pitt saved a few set points as well. And then the ace by Vasquez Gomez, and the Panthers were off and running. And Mick, you know that you got to have a big win like that, at least a set win that just kind of gets you, all right, we're number 1 in the country. Everyone's going to want us to lose. And then after that, they were a little bit smooth sailing from there on. One other big one, Tennessee beat Western Kentucky in 5. That was a bit of a must win for the Vols to kind of stay in that top tier SEC conversation.
I'm not sure about this 100%. You may know, but I don't think Pitt's lost a set yet this year, have they?
I read that they didn't. Let's do a quick discount double check on the claim, because we don't want to say anything that's incorrect. I thought I saw that they were perfect. Yep, they have not dropped. No, they did. Opening day exhibition. So they, in regular season, they have not dropped a set. Exhibition against Michigan, they won in 5. So Penn State Wednesday, ACC Network at 7 o'clock. Can the Nittany Lions take the first set off Dan Fisher's Panthers? That will be an interesting one to see. But Mick, it's going to be a really fun week. I cannot wait to hear the comments on YouTube. Who do you guys think will come out on Wednesday? Run off who you think will. And, maybe if someone has a perfect prediction, maybe, just maybe, we'll pick them out as well as a winner of these new 6 rotation jackets. But there was one more bit of news, and it was a weird one, but I guess a technicality because of TV. We mentioned last week that they had locked in the final 4 times and TV. They just moved up the first match, which, as you know, we're getting a little older, Mick. We don't want to stay up till midnight. So 6:30 is the first serve of the first match of the Final 4 Thursday. No longer 7 o'clock, 6:30. I'm all on board. Hopefully we'll get out of there by 10 o'clock on that Thursday. Remember, was it Omaha 2 years ago when, was it Louisville, Pittsburgh went until like 1 a.m. in their 5-setter? It was crazy.
Yeah, everybody brought a sleeping bag. They were just going to snooze the rest of the night, get up about 6 a.m. and go home. Yeah.
There we go. So what do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 matchups this week between top 25 teams. And then Marquette, who's 26. You could have 11 if you want to count the top 26 teams. You could have 12 if you want to count the top 27, because Arkansas plays Miami. This is going to be an awesome week filled with high-level competition, and we cannot wait to break it all down next week. As always, he's Mick, I'm Daniel, and this is 6 Rotations.